Hello there. It's your girl Valerie Mason Chase again. And listen, Cookie Man ain't here today, but we were blessed to have him for 2 weeks in a row, last week and the week before. So, there was a song, I guess it was back in the 80s, 70s, or 80s, that me and my girlfriend Robin used to lose our minds to when it played in the club. And that song was It's Ladies' Night. So guess what? Tonight on Marriage Beyond the Breach, it's Ladies' Night. And we're going to be talking about something that I think a lot of couples are challenged in this area. And here's why I say that. It's a pet peeve of mine when I hear individuals use the word intimacy when they're really referring to sexual intercourse. Two different things. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about all things intimacy. And it is my hope and my prayer that when this podcast is over, that those who are listening, either now or later, will have a deeper and a better understanding when it comes to intimacy. And as always, I would ask, if you haven't already done so, to subscribe to the YouTube channel, to like and share and do all that good stuff. It's Marriage Beyond the Breach. We're here on YouTube. Marriage Beyond the Breach is on Facebook. Marriage Beyond the Breach is also on Instagram. So I want to bring on these three dynamic sisters who are going to be with me tonight and helping us to talk about and have a very deep conversation about intimacy. I want to bring on a young lady here by the name of Miss Dominique Neal. Hey, Dominique.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. How are you? Hope you all are doing amazing on this amazing Sunday.
Yes, this amazing windy Sunday,
Wendy.
because I know it's because of the power. I mean, because of the wind, some people have actually lost power. And I know Dominique has lost power. And the fact that she has shown up, even in spite of that, I think is a testament to her perseverance, her resilience, and how seriously she takes this topic. So I want to thank you so
Very
much
much.
for being here, Dominique. So just take a
Thank
minute
you.
and tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Dominique Neal. I am the owner of Cupid's Love Corner. Cupid's Love Corner is a bath, beauty, and intimacy adult novelty brand. My slogan, of course, is I keep single people satisfied and married people married. I myself am married. I've been married for 6 years next month. Been with my spouse since we were 17, 16, and 17. So coming up on 17 years of being together. So we've been through the trials and tribulations, of course, through dating, long-term relationship, and of course
Mhm.
now marriage. So as a young couple, so this is a amazing opportunity for me. As far as my brand, I literally have any and everything to heat up the bedroom. I tell
Mhm.
people the products get you from the start of the morning to the end at night. Now, what you do in your bedroom is your business, but I'm here to assist to make that bedroom a little bit more spicier than it was before.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much, Dominique. I'm going to now
Thank you.
bring on Miss Dawne Horizons. Hey, Dawne.
Hey.
It's so good to see you, and thank you for being here. I just want to tell the viewers that both Dawn and Dominique I met at a couples conference down in Maryland. It was the Couples Fest put on by the Greens, who have an amazing ministry and coaching, a couples coaching practice, Marriage Built to Last. And I met both of them there, and I was so moved by, listen, because when I meet someone and I take to them and I love what they do, because I figure if I like it, other people are going to like it as well. And I believe in, sharing information, and helping to promote people who have some stuff out there, and they've got some amazing stuff. So, Ms. Dawn Horizons, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a certified holistic health and wellness coach and a massage therapist. I teach a course called Marriage, Intimacy, and Massage. I was sharing some of that at the Couples Fest.
Mhm.
And so I like to help couples with whatever the issues are that are preventing them from intimacy. So Neek has the, and we're a great duo here. So Neek
Mhm.
has the toys and things, but sometimes the things that prevent couples from having good intercourse as well as intimacy may be health problems. And so I teach
Mm.
couples what to do to navigate their health problems naturally, I like to say, with God's medicine, and help with whatever those deficiencies may be so that they can come together. Because we know once couples are happy in the bedroom, that kind of emanates to all different facets of life. So I love to
Yeah.
be able to help married couples, and especially when they're like middle age and more, different
Mhm.
health problems. They may be on medications, and those medications often have an effect on how you perform in the bedroom. So
Yeah.
Neek and I are a great duo to help spice it up in the bedroom.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I want to bring this next sister on, and let me just say, we were classmates at Cairn University, and I fell in love with her when we were at Cairn together, and we have maintained our connection since then. We started back in 2017, 2018, and we connected then, and we have maintained a relationship. I have so much respect and admiration for this sister here. So, Sarah Beth, I love you, and I'm so glad to see you on tonight. This is Sarah Beth DiCostanzo. So, Sarah Beth, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you for that introduction. That was so lovely. My name is Sarah Costanzo. I am a mental health professional. I'm certified in trauma. I am married, been married for about 15 years this year. I have 2 children. And my passion is for trauma. I have a heart for trauma, those who struggle with trauma and trauma recovery, and all
Mhm.
that pertains to that. That has so many different faces. I am trained in emotionally focused therapy and also in sex therapy. So I
Mhm.
find my specialization in trauma helps to inform that aspect of my work when I am working with couples and
Yeah.
struggles with intimacies, topics with intimacies. That's a very big thing when it comes to trauma because many trauma victims really struggle with trust. And
Right.
without trust, it's difficult to, if not impossible, to have real intimacy.
Mhm. Yeah. So, listen, guys, we got you covered tonight. We got mind, body, and spirit. We got everything here to help couples with their intimacy, all types of intimacy. And like I started out by saying, hey sis, that's my sister Jackie's inspirational corner. Hey sis, I love you. Good to see you tonight. Um, my pet peeve is when people say intimacy, but they mean sex, or they say sex and they mean intimacy. So I want to start by asking you ladies, how do you define intimacy, and what are the areas of intimacy? What types of intimacy are there? And anybody can answer. Listen, I know y'all
Okay,
saved the
I'll
thing.
jump
I
in.
know that, but don't be so polite. Just go ahead and answer, okay?
So I'll jump in. As you said, intimacy and sexual intercourse are two different things. You need
Mhm.
intimacy to go into sexual intercourse, but they are two different things because you can have intimacy without the intercourse. So intimacy is like a personal or interpersonal relationship with your spouse, with your loved
Mhm.
one, and that includes emotional intimacy as well as the physical intimacy. That's when we get into sexual intimacy. But in order to have a healthy relationship, you have to have all types of that intimacy. And like what the sister said about trauma, a lot of times that can be an inhibitor. If people
Mm.
have experienced some type of sexual abuse or domestic violence in their relationship, even though years may have gone past, or maybe they're married now, or what have you, those things don't just go away by time. She can speak more to that as well, but that can definitely affect the intimacy. So healing needs to take place at the soulish level, at the spiritual level, as well as
Mhm.
the physical level, so that true intimacy, that interpersonal connection can
Yeah.
happen. And from that can spill over into sexual intercourse.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, to piggyback off of what Dawn said, I mean, I think intimacy defines it's a depth of a relationship. We can have all kinds of different relationships, kind of different kinds of friendships, right? But the intimacy level will vary throughout those relationships. And intimacy could happen with sex and it can happen without sex. Like it's
Right.
they're not one in the same.
Right.
Most importantly, what I like to share, what I talk about a lot is intimacy with the Lord, right? Our relationship with the
Mm,
Lord. Do you have a close, some people like, yeah, you know the Lord. Okay, that's fine. But do you have a meaningful, do you have a deep, do you have an intimate relationship with the Lord? Because that's completely
right.
different. Some people, I think they have a casual relationship with the Lord. I go to
Mm,
church, I'm a believer, I was
mhm.
baptized, I grew up in the church, I'm in the choir, I do ministry, right?
Yeah.
I'm the pastor, right? Unfortunately, you can be in all types of ministry and play in all different kind of roles in church and have a casual relationship with the Lord, right?
Yes.
Intimacy involves time, it involves discipline, it involves
Mm,
honesty, it involves vulnerability, and it involves a sort of an acceptance, right? Right? Grace
yeah.
and mercy. Um,
Hmm.
there's a lot more to intimacy than just a physical proximity to someone.
Yeah. That's good. I like that. I like that, Sarah Beth. Dominique, do you have anything to add that you would like to add to the subject of
Um,
intimacy overall?
just for me, basing it off my own, I guess, experiences, for me, it's the connection. It's
Mm,
basically intimacy is nothing but a connection. Of course,
hmm.
I have an intimate connection with my spouse. I have another type of intimate connection, with Miss Dawn. So those intimate connections are solely different. But of course, I know that that meaning of intimacy is nothing but a connection. Of course, there's different types, intellectual, spiritual, physical, of course, and emotional. So, depending on the person and that type of connection that you have with them determines what type of intimacy that you actually have with that particular person. When it
Yeah.
comes to marriages, you need a combination of all of them, spiritual, emotional, physical, and intellectual, in order to make that marriage blossom. And of course, in order to get to
Yeah.
the physical, sexual act of it, um, that is what's going to make your form of intimacy blossom and be very strong in that connection.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Can I
That
add
connection
one
is
thing?
really important. Yeah. Go ahead, Miss Dawn.
To what Sarah Beth was saying, in even with our relationship with the Lord, and there are different levels of intimacy. And sometimes you can do all the things, as she said, and be so active in the church. And this is where the scripture
Mhm.
says, you say, I've healed in your name, I've prayed, I've done all of these things. And then Jesus will say, depart from me, I never knew you. How could that
Right.
be when you've done all those things? But that
Mm,
knowing that he's talking about, when you talk about it in scripture, usually when a man knew a woman, meant that they had intimacy, meant that they had intercourse. And so,
right.
what does that look like with the Lord? That intimacy is spending that quiet time. It's going into
Mm,
deep prayer. It could be fasting. It could be worship, because praise is one level and worship is another level. And then the word
absolutely.
says, if we love him, we have to worship him in spirit and in truth. So it's those times that we spend in the spirit, praying in the spirit, speaking in the spirit,
Yeah.
waiting on him, because prayer is supposed to be a dialogue, right? Not a monologue. And
Right.
oftentimes we bring our requests to him and then we get up and leave, when really we need to sit
Mm,
before him and get an answer. Or maybe he wants to drop something to us about someone else. That's how we foster that intimacy with the Lord. That's kind of what that
yeah.
looks like. And going from praise into worship. Same thing in a relationship with your spouse. You can have a casual relationship and then you can have something deeper.
Something
To
deeper.
me, that praise and that worship with your spouse is like the most intimate connection that you can have. And that is that
Mm,
threefold cord that cannot quickly be broken, that Ecclesiastes speaks of, where
right.
God is with the two people and they're coming together with the Father and spending
Yeah.
time. I just even feel chills as I talk about that, and spending time with the Lord together, having their own time, right? But also coming
Hmm.
together to pray for one another, to bless
Yeah.
one another, to lay hands on one another. That's a whole nother level of intimacy. And a lot of couples are
Absolutely.
not there. And
Right.
hopefully we can help them to get there.
Hopefully we can help them to get there. And I'm gonna tell you what I love about this right here. Um, where the conversation has gone thus far. This is what I love about this, okay? Because most people would not associate intimacy with God and to talk about it from a spiritual perspective. But I love making that connection because it is so important. Because having that level of intimacy with our Heavenly Father can help us have intimacy and connection with others, including our spouse, and most especially with our spouse. So I don't know how the rest of y'all who are watching feel about it, but for me, I am loving the direction of the conversation thus far. And I want, oh, hey, Miss D, good to see you this evening. And I want to encourage anyone who is watching live, if you have a question you want to pose to the panel, if you have a comment that you want to make, please, by all means, feel free to put it in the chat, because we like this to be as interactive as possible. So, Sarah Beth, I want to ask you something. From your perspective, what are some common misconceptions that couples may have about intimacy versus sex?
I mean, I think they think it's one and the same, right? So that's the initial problem. It's not one and the same. And I think in order to answer that question, I think I need to set up some context or put it within a framework, and saying that, I mean, I think the last time that I was here with you and we were talking about this, I said something to the effect of, you know, the world doesn't like Christians and they hate God, but they love his stuff, right? And sexual intimacy, that's his stuff. Right? God created sex. He created us as sexual beings. That's a part of our identity. That's a part of who we are. And all that we do and all that God has created has a purpose, right? And part of that purpose is to reflect something about him, right? So as we engage in the things that God has created, it's meant to show us something about him and increase our intimacy with him, right? So God created sexual intimacy, right? But he didn't create it for us to have free reign with it, right? He created it within a context. And he created it within a context for a purpose, right? And that context is a marital covenant. Inside a marital covenant, there's a sense of safety. There's a protection. There's supposed to be a sense of safety. There's supposed to be a protection there, right? On all different levels. And it wasn't just a spiritual level, but also a physical level and also a legal level, right? There's some protection there when you're within a marital covenant that has some teeth in scripture and has some teeth in law, right? And so within that context, that involves two people, and it's to result in not just pleasure. Pleasure is a part of it. That's why our body is created the way that it is. And we have so many different nerve endings in different parts of our bodies, our sexual organs and things of that nature, right? So there's pleasure involved in that. There's a knowing of each other. There's a healing part, to a restoring part to sexual intimacy with couples, right? Everyone has heard of makeup sex. We all know what that's about, right? And then there's that part that sort of informs us a little bit about what God is. What does it mean to be close? What does it mean to be one, right? It does that as well. And then it also has a practical part. Be fruitful and multiply.
Right.
So there's that element, right? So, but when we take it out of that context, that's when everything goes awry, right? That's when there's perversion, right? Then it becomes like idolatry. Then it becomes a self-serving thing. You know, so I think it's important for us to know and understand that sex was meant to be within a particular context, a very specific covenantal context, right? So I just want to lay that foundation for that.
Okay.
And then I want to touch upon how somewhere along the way, as we've taken it out of context, you know, we've romanticized marriage, or we've romanticized sexual intimacy in marriage. We've romanticized this idea of what the honeymoon is supposed to be like. You know, for goodness sakes, when you think about it practically right now, in within the Christian church, right? Who talks about sex with their children? Are there Bible classes about sexual intimacy at your at your church, at Bible colleges? Maybe it's some classes. If you fall under that major of counseling, maybe there might be the discussion there. But like within our culture, we don't talk about it. The last time I was on here, we asked each other, well, where did you first learn about sex? It wasn't in church. It wasn't from my parents, right? We all learned about sex somewhere in the streets, basically, you know, from our friends, from TV, all from the wrong place. So we all have this, we're all misguided when it comes to sex. You know, the world is already taking it out of context. It's taking it out of, you know, a biblical framework, you know, and it misforms us. It ill-educates us. And then we have the enemy who purposely wants to destroy it for us, right? So he wants to throw in the confusion, right? So I think we need to pull it back. And we need to reclaim it. And I think then we'll have a better framework to work from when it comes to marital intimacy. And to answer your question, you can't have one without the other. I don't believe. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't
Mm-hmm.
believe that you can lack intimacy, right? And then have sexual intimacy, right? You can have the act, but
You
that's
can have
just
sexual intercourse, right? You can have sexual
right,
intercourse, but not sexual
right,
intimacy, right?
right. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So those are
Mm-hmm.
two different things.
Two different
Um,
things.
when it comes to sexual intimacy, I think you need to have a form of emotional and mental and
Mm-hmm.
even like a physical sort of intimacy that may not be sexual, right?
Right.
There's that touching and wanting to be close and wanting to be
Mm-hmm.
near. There's that idea of I can be myself and I'm accepted
Right.
even though I'm not perfect, right? I can be myself and make mistakes without negative consequences, right? Um, so there's that place of safety and there's that grace and
Right.
that mercy. I can make mistakes and I can be forgiven. Okay, they may not be happy, right?
Right.
I may not be their best person at the moment, but I know somewhere down deep inside, I know that there's going to be forgiveness. So then I'm not struggling with abandonment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Years
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
abandonment, and things like that. So it's difficult to have that sexual intimacy if if there's fear involved,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
If there's a
Right.
lack of safety. And that's not just
Mm-hmm.
physical safety, there's that emotional and mental safety that's important.
Absolutely. I want to kind of piggyback on something you said. You mentioned physical touch, and I know, Dawn, you do a lot of teaching couples about massage and about physical touch. So, what role does physical touch play in fostering a deep emotional connection?
It plays a very big role. Us as women, some men too, but mostly as women, we like to be touched. It could be, a hand in the small of our back. It could be the touch on the shoulder, rubbing the arms, honey, this or
Mhm,
that. And so there's
mhm,
different ways that you begin to show this intimacy. And as Sarah Beth was saying, in this whole relationship with being able to share your emotions and be vulnerable and be in a safe space to share. Like, I don't like that, or I'm not comfortable, or do it this way. I mean, communication in all different levels, because
right,
how can they know if you don't tell them? You can't
right,
expect them to come to the table and know how you like things. So you have to teach and you have to be okay with being taught. And that goes for the male and also for the female. And so one of the things that I do is, because sometimes, like I said, medication or some type of illness could be a hindering factor for performance in the bedroom. So I'm
right.
helping you to get that under control. And I'll just give a brief example. A lot of our men, women too, could be on high blood pressure medications. And one of the effects of that is erectile dysfunction. And
Mm,
sometimes it causes low libido or dryness in women. And once it's uncomfortable, you don't want to do it. And
right,
so that's one of the ways I help. So there are lubricants and that type of stuff, but we have to get to the root issue, the root cause of what it is. And it's something that's going on internal. Diabetes medication is huge for this and can also cause, when it's hard to have children, when men can't produce and things like that. So
mm,
I like to look at the root of that and help them to get healthy from the inside out, physically, right?
mhm,
Physiologically. And then that can transpose also into emotionally, and that intercourse, that intimacy and intercourse that can take place in the bedroom. Because if your knees hurt, your back hurt, or you can't stand up, like, that's a problem. That's a problem. And
true,
if you can't be happy in the bedroom, there's frustration and there's stress. And sometimes intercourse is one of the ways to relieve stress for whatever is
mm,
going on in your life. And so if
mm,
that's not a safe place where you can let go, where you can be free, where you can be pleasured, then that causes more stress and strain in the relationship. And then that
mhm,
trickles out to your workplace and everything else that's going on. So it is a vital part.
right,
Physical touch and actual intercourse that is enjoyable is
mhm,
huge for a marriage. And I believe that's why God gave that to me. And now I'm teaching this as a divorced woman, as a single
mhm,
woman who is
mhm,
celibate, waiting.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
So I've
mhm.
been on both sides. And
Yeah,
throughout this process, it is still important for us to keep God first and to do things within the covenant of marriage and to take care of our bodies so that we can be healthy and whole.
yeah,
That's emotionally, that's mentally, as well as physically. And then that spills out to financially and socially, because that's important too. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, Miss Dominique, I know that
Yes.
you specialize in products that can help a couple enhance their physical as well as their sexual experience. So, from your perspective, what are some common myths or misunderstanding that couples may have about using adult products in a committed relationship? And again, I preface that by saying in a committed relationship,
In
not
a
just
committed
willy-nilly.
relationship.
Yeah.
Correct. So basically, a lot of people say that it'll break up a relationship, or that you are, if you're a woman, or a man using toys separately, not including your spouse, that you are replacing your spouse, making it to where you're pushing your spouse out of your bedroom. I tell people all the time, again, with my slogan, I keep single people satisfied and married people married. And I literally told a gentleman this last night at an event that I was at in Richmond, Virginia. My job is not to replace you. My job is to enhance your bedroom. I'm not here to
Mm,
have her push you out so that she doesn't have to like necessarily have you there physically. No, the job is for me is to get you two to a place where you all are enjoying this together. Now, of course, some
mm,
people are um, timid when it comes to experimenting. And there's a lot of different things. And that's the other thing too. A lot of people have this misconception where toys are the only thing that you need to use in the bedroom. You can use
right.
something as small as a massage candle. You can use something like an edible lubricant or an enhancement cream. I know Dawn had touched on like the things about erectile dysfunction and fertility issues. Some of our products are actually helping or designed to help with the fertility issue. We actually have a lubricant that is fertility friendly. It's called Conceptra. I also have warming lubricants, but of course, a water based lubricant that is reactivating for up to 24 hours for women called Just Like Me, to help
Mm,
with those issues for the women who are experiencing going through the change of menopause and things of that nature. So, and just because you are in your 20s or your 30s, like I am, does not mean that, you don't need the lubricant. Okay. So
right.
common misconceptions, those are a couple of common misconceptions right there. That we're here to
Mm,
push the gentleman out of the bedroom, or we're here to push our lady out of the bedroom. No, the job is for me to get you two to a place where you are enjoying each other in the bedroom together,
right.
because this is about
Yeah.
a together situation. So that is one of the main misconceptions about the toys and the edible products and things of that nature. Because again, when you talk about sex in church or sex and religion, it's definitely taboo, and it's a topic that a lot of people shy away from. And like y'all
Mm,
said earlier, you don't find out about this in church. You find out about it elsewhere. So
elsewhere.
Mhm.
Elsewhere.
And
And
I want to
elsewhere,
given,
add to that that nothing
yeah,
feels
okay,
as
go ahead.
good as the real thing. Nothing feels as good as the real thing.
Do
exactly,
that.
So don't
exactly.
get it twisted.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
substitute while your spouse is away. All right, it's a substitute while your spouse is away.
Yes. I agree with both of those. It's a good substitute, but nothing feels like the real thing. I think it
Yes,
was Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell said it best back in the 60s. Ain't nothing like the real thing. They had a song by that title.
yes.
Okay. I may be dating myself. You youngins probably don't remember
I
that
heard the
song.
song, but I didn't know
I know
that's
the
what it
song.
meant.
I
Ain't
know the
nothing
song.
like the
I
real
was
thing.
today years old when I found that out.
Oh
Definitely
my
know the song.
goodness.
I love music, so
Yeah. So again, those of you who are watching, I encourage you if you have any questions. And hi, Miss Holly. Thank you for tuning in. Um, if you have any questions, any comments, feel free to put them in the chat. The ladies are here and ready to answer questions that you may have. I want to come back to you, Sarah Beth, for a second, because you mentioned trauma a couple of times. So, how does exactly past trauma affect intimacy, and what steps can couples take in order to heal together? Because I think that would be the objective for them to heal together.
Right. Um, I mean, trauma can impact intimacy in several different ways for several different people. I mean, I think the main thing, um, the key element that we lose those who experience trauma is that sense of safety.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so when we're talking about something as intimate and as private and requires vulnerability like sex, like sexual intimacy, that's
Yeah.
that's a key component. You know, if you don't feel safe, then then it's difficult for you to be vulnerable, and to sort of let your guard down because experience has showed you that that's an unsafe thing to do.
Yeah.
Or maybe for some people, they've never experienced a sense of safety. And I know that's definitely something that, when I was being trained and educated in trauma, with some of these interventions where there's like, think of something peaceful, a time where you felt safe. Well, sometimes
Mm,
some people have never felt safe.
Right.
They can think as
right.
far back as memory can allow them, and they've never felt safe. So that's
Mm,
something that has to be learned and has to be built. And in regards to healing, I think when it comes to trauma, doing individual work and also doing couples work is important. So doing both,
Mhm.
right?
yeah.
I remember once um, someone said that, if one person is in therapy and the other person isn't, right? So one person is growing while the other person is behind,
Yeah.
right? But if we're doing the work together, then we're both growing. And so, we don't
Yeah.
want that. So I definitely encourage doing the individual work. That's important. And also doing the
Mhm.
couples work, growing together, going to therapy together, praying together, setting those boundaries together, going
Mm,
through the process together while you're
yeah.
doing your own personal work. You and the Lord, you and your therapist, go to group therapy, do your journaling, whatever it is that you need for yourself,
Yeah.
Mhm.
to keep that going.
Yeah.
And I want
Oh,
to add something to that too,
go ahead.
because I don't know if I told you, Valerie, that I work with a trauma specialist as well, and more from a
Mhm,
spiritual perspective. This is something that God has called me to, and so I
mhm,
do it in the context of inner healing. So that person
mhm.
that Sarah Beth mentioned that may have never felt safe and it may have never had that moment, even from the
Mhm.
womb, helping them to kind of go back to that time in a sense and pulling them forward into the time they are now, because each of us has a little girl within us. Each man has a little boy within them, depending on what their life was like and the various traumas that they went through. That little boy can still be there and has never grown up.
Mm.
And so that's something that may need to take place. Oftentimes, these sexual type traumas happened in childhood, in adolescence, and some in adulthood. Sometimes, for some people, and this is going to a deeper spiritual level, nothing in particular happened to Sally, let's say, but there's something in her bloodline that has happened all throughout. And now she has a spirit spouse where this with I
Mm.
don't want to go too deep into that, but she has a spirit spouse and it's causing her to not like sex. It's causing her to
Mm,
be uncomfortable. And so that's something, unfortunately, that counseling cannot fix. That is something that is spiritual in nature and
right.
God has to fix it. And this person needs to be delivered from whatever that the root of that trauma is. And so that's what I do. And going as a deliverance minister, and being led of the Lord to go back into those spaces. And one of the ways that God uses me with like a prophetic gifting is He'll give me the age of the person. And they'll come to me, let's just say for a massage, just a regular massage appointment, not
Right.
coming for trauma or just anything. They just came for a massage, my back hurt, my neck hurt, whatever. And then while they're there, God begins to give me intel for this person on the table. And I may say something like one client was like, what happened at age 12? And all of a sudden they just begin to break. I don't know what
Mhm,
happened to them at age 12, but they do. And
mhm.
that becomes a significant point. And then I can pray with them and work through them through that part. And for some people, God begins to give me other ages. And so for each of those places that there was, let's say, a dagger, there was a broken part in them, that part gets fixed. So then at the end of that, they can be their whole person. Like I think the client was like, let's say 35. And God took me through several different ages with her. So that's not every client, but that's one of the ways that God uses me in ministry with the client. So it's so much more than massage. And so if somebody
Right.
has a brokenness in this sexual abuse area or domestic abuse area, typically God will reveal that to me. And then I'll be able to help the client process through that. And so in light of that, just recently last year, I went to a domestic violence panel thing with the county. And God was like, you've been helping people with this. You need to tell that. See, this was just happening in my massage room, but it's like,
Right.
no, this is a thing. I can offer this even as a service. And it was like, oh, wow. So I stood up,
Mhm.
at the end when they said, any questions or whatever, and let them know this is something that I do. So if there are women that are coming out of domestic violence or sexual abuse, they can schedule an appointment with me to begin the healing process, to learn what physical touch feels like when it's healthy and when it's safe. And I have worked with a few clients that have been raped or had other, types of sexual abuse, domestic violence. And I was the
Mhm.
first person that they came to as they've gone through therapy to have that physical touch setting. And I just
Yeah.
walked her through each step and kept talking to her and letting her know what I was doing. And she was comfortable. And at the end of it, she was like, wow, she was so amazed. She was so happy.
Mhm.
She got through it, but she didn't feel like, oh, I have to just get through this. No, I made her feel comfortable. I made her feel safe. I allowed her for her guard to come down so that she can be vulnerable and be like, oh, this is what healthy soft touch. Now, mind you, I'm a woman, she's a woman, so it wasn't that type of thing, but it allowed
Right.
her to feel some type of healthy physical touch because she hadn't.
She hadn't
And
felt it
so,
before.
yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And I want to, I think I want to, Sarah Beth, I want to ask you this. And what would you say to a spouse? Let's say, hypothetically, it's a husband who is married to a woman who has experienced sexual trauma in the past and it is directly interfering. What would you say to him to help
Mm.
him remain connected emotionally in the absence of physical intimacy because of the trauma that she has experienced? How would you help him in that process?
Good
I think
question.
part of that goes back to what I was saying before about putting sex in its proper context, right?
Hmm.
So even
Hmm.
within the marital covenant relationship, sex still has a place, right? It's not all of marriage, right?
Right.
Marriage is not just sex, right? There are other aspects of
Hmm.
marriage that we fail to sort of explore, we fail to sort of enjoy, we fail to develop and to grow, because once again, we've been ill-educated um, on what sex is within a biblical context, right?
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, if so, I think that for many people, sex is an idol, right? Even within the marriage context, like
Right.
everything is not about sex. Everything can't be centered on sex. Your whole mood, your life, your functioning, your conversations, how you relate to your spouse can't all be about sex, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I mean, if we have a healthy concept of that, I think that would help, right? Because there are other parts of your wife that you can explore beyond just her physical body, right?
Hmm.
She's
Hmm.
more than
Hmm.
just her sexual parts, right?
Right.
So that's one part of it. I think the other part of it is um, being open and honest, right? Being sensitive, because even beyond the marriage relationship, right? Scripture informs us on how we should be communicating or we should be doing relationship with one another, right?
Yeah.
Fruits of the spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness,
Hmm.
faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, right?
Right.
So all of that should be informing us in every way and in every context within our covenant relationship with our spouse, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
are you exhibiting the fruit of the spirit? And if not, then that's something that you could be working on. Not to say that
Yeah.
sex is not a big deal. It's a part of marriage. It's an important part of marriage. But what I'm saying is it needs to be put in its proper context. And I think
Mm.
once we do that, I think our heads and our hearts will follow. Um, if we're guided by scripture, if we have that support, if we have
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
just a therapist, but you also have that spiritual support, whether it's your pastor,
Yeah.
whether it's your men's group, your own
Hmm.
parents, your own family. We
Yeah.
can't do this on our own. So
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
just your wife who struggled from trauma needs that support, but you also need that support. You know,
Okay.
you need that help. You need someone to
Mhm.
also empathize with you and what you're struggling with. Because, like I said in the beginning, we're sexual beings. That's an important part of you. So
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
something that you
Mhm.
need support with as well.
Okay. Thank
Can
you
I
for
add
that.
to that a couple of maybe practical steps? Would that be okay? For
Sure.
that
Go ahead.
spouse? Communicate with her if it's a time when you're trying to engage in intercourse or in sexual intimacy. Let her
Mhm.
know what you're doing, especially if she's been abused. Talk her through it, or like talk dirty to her. Get her used to that and let her be okay with that, and then begin to move from there, but at her pace, not at your pace, at her pace.
Okay.
Be kind,
Absolutely.
be compassionate,
Yeah.
be patient, take it very, very slow. Let her know, feel her body, pay attention to the way her body is responding. And if they're paying attention to that, they will know when she stiffens, when she's uncomfortable, if she's afraid, and talk to her. Use your words to say, honey, I love you, or, all of the different things that you can say to her to help her to feel comfortable and calm in that moment. Set the
Yeah.
mood, set the atmosphere, have some candles, have, dim lights. Do it after you spent the day together, had dinner together, because most times women need intimacy in various ways before we get to the
Mhm.
intercourse part. We need to feel loved. We need to feel safe.
Yeah.
We need to feel secure. We need to feel comfortable. We need to know that we're loved. Beyond what you're saying, love is a demonstrative word. It has to be shown. How are you
Mhm.
showing that? Maybe it's a love note. Maybe it's a call or a sexy call, at lunch or something. Make her blush. Kind of prepare
Mhm.
that. If you know that this is difficult for her, start the day
Mhm.
before or the morning of. Like, don't just try to get to
Right.
it, because a lot of times that's what men
Yeah.
do. Men need it much more than we need it, right?
Oh
So
Well,
yeah.
if
I don't
there's
know
this,
about
sometimes I know, but when there's an imbalance in the drive that he has versus what
Yeah.
she
that.
has,
Yeah.
that can really cause a problem. And so there are things that you
Yeah.
can do to increase drive. But if her reason for having a low drive is because she has been hurt or traumatized in this area, you're going to have to talk her through it to the man. You're going to
Yeah.
have to let her know that, honey, I'm sorry what happened to you. That's not me. I love you. And da da da. Like, you got to talk her through it.
Yeah.
So that's a very practical way, and a Bible way, to be able to help her through that time.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
the bottom line is overall is to be sensitive to your partner
Yes.
emotionally as well as physically, and understand where they are and be willing, because you love them, to meet them where they are, wherever that is, and work through whatever needs to be worked through, so that the whole experience, emotionally, physically, and sexually, can be mutually satisfying for all parties
Both.
involved,
Hmm.
or the two
Hmm.
parties involved. We ain't gonna
Hmm.
say all, we only want
Yeah,
two
but
people in.
right, we do. Right. Don't be selfish. Don't be
Not to
selfish.
be
You have to
selfish.
be
Yeah.
selfless in this. Pay attention to
Less.
her. She has to pay attention to you. Learn each other's body, learn each other's
Yeah.
way of communication and talk and all of those things.
Absolutely.
And that's how we can
Yeah.
get better and better and better.
Yeah, and know what your partner is comfortable with, and
Yes.
respect each other's boundaries,
Hmm.
whatever they are, whether you agree with them or not. Respect your partner's boundaries. So I
Yes.
want to ask for a minute about something practical, exercises that couples can do to strengthen that emotional connection aside from the physical. We're not, no, not talking about physical at all, but just to strengthen the emotional connection. What are some exercises or some tips that you can offer to a couple in that regard? And anybody can answer that.
I think that
I'll go ahead and jump in there.
oh,
Go
good.
ahead.
Yeah, go ahead,
Go
Dominique. I
ahead.
think Dominique is about to say something. Go ahead, Dominique.
Yeah, so basically, I guess when it comes to, I guess, my part of it in my business, of course, like I told you all before, we don't just have the sexual products, we don't just have the edible lubricants and things of that nature. We do also carry like couples games. And
Mm,
so a part of my couples games, there is a card game. It's called Hot Date Night, and it basically tells you what to do. In that card game, it also has a copy of, it has a topic of questions that gets you to
mm,
ask or start asking your partner these questions that could be very hard for you to ask your partner. Now I get it. Some people think, oh, okay, well, I've been with my partner for 20 years. There may be a question that you haven't asked your partner or your spouse because
yeah.
yes, it's been 20 years, but you don't know how to ask that question. So I love this date night card game because again, I told you all before, my spouse and I have been together 17 years. Yes, I know I'm
Mhm.
34, but we've been together 17 years. And so there's some questions that I haven't asked him. There's questions he haven't asked me, but this card game gets you talking. Um, the couples dice games that we have. It's a set of 6 dice. You roll those dice. One is a foreplay edition. One is a sex edition, actual sex edition. So of course, the foreplay gets you, doing things that you probably wouldn't have done before. But of course, the actual sex edition gets you to doing things that you have never tried before, possibly. So with these
Mhm.
couples games, um, and just like finding out what your partner likes and incorporating that into your intimate moments, whether you're having a conversation, whether, like Miss Dawn said earlier, touching your spouse, or some type of act of service, giving them something or showing them somehow that you care by doing something for them. Just finding a way to get into that, showing them that you
Yeah.
know them, definitely will boost the intimacy before you even get to the act.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And you
that's
know
what I
what?
was
It's
going to say.
interesting that you say about being together a long time and still asking questions that you haven't asked your spouse before. My husband and I have been together for 45 years, and there
Mm,
are some things about each other that we are still kind of discovering, even after all this time. And I think that is a wonderful thing
Yes.
because it lets me know that there is still more ground to cover, that he doesn't know every single thing 100% about me, and vice versa,
correct.
that there's still room to grow and explore, and learn. I think that's a beautiful thing. I do think that some couples think that after being together for a long period of time, well, I should know this or he should know that. And I say, well, we know what our partners tell us and we know what we discover.
Right.
So I'm not a fan of that should when it comes to relationships and whatnot. So I want to ask this question. Let's say a couple, or if one part of a couple says, well, I'm just not all touchy feely. I'm not into that. I'm not into massage and I'm not into touching and all that. I just want to just get it on. How do you approach that individual who says that they are not into what they call touchy feely, or wanting to connect with their spouse in a different way?
Communication and understanding, and if that's your need, communicating that to your partner to say, look, I understand, like, that's not your thing, or you don't particularly like those things, but this is what I need. And so that's what the couple has to do, come to a compromise so
Yeah.
that both persons needs can be met. So what, I'm never supposed to get kisses and hugs because you don't like to do that, or you're never going to hold my hand when we're out because you don't like that, but I like that. So that's being selfish. So how can you let down some of the things that you don't like to give me some of the things that I like and I need? And that's where you have to come together as a couple and compromise. So maybe you don't do it all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe you do it some of the time,
Yeah.
but that's only going to happen through conversation and not being
Right.
afraid to say, honey, I need that. Like this is what turns me on. This is what I need. Or I like it when you this. And so maybe they don't want to do that all the time. That's fine. We have to understand that. But there has to be compromise. And that can only begin through conversation and communication.
Yeah. Okay. Sarah Beth, you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I definitely agree with that. There is that give and take. That's what marriage is about. It's you have to be selfless, right? That's part of the package. I was gonna say unfortunately, but it's not unfortunate. But I think also the idea of keeping in mind that sometimes that can change
Mm-hmm.
throughout marriage,
Yeah.
right? Because our lives change. In the early years, it's just the two of you. You can do more things, and maybe you're
Mhm.
more interested in sex and things of that nature. Then you start having kids, and it's not that you've lost interest. Now there's no time and there's no
Mhm.
space, and you're gonna wake up the baby and things like that, and then you have to become experts in the quickie, right? So that becomes
Mhm.
that becomes a
Yeah.
thing, and then sometimes you start working harder, right? You're growing in your career or your ministry, and basically when it comes down to, I'm tired, and when you guys both get together for date night, you think you go out and have fun, and you're like, let's just go to sleep. you know and that becomes a great date night. Wow, we got to go to sleep, and so
Right.
Yeah.
to be open to those changes. The
Yeah.
relationships, they change, they grow, they look different. depending on where you are in life, depending on your health, depending on your relationship, depending on the family
Mhm.
dynamic, and to be able to stay open to that, because no one can predict what tomorrow brings, right?
Hmm.
But the Lord
That-
stays the
yeah,
same. And so we
Hmm.
can trust and rely that He's going to get us through whatever time
whatever
in
it
our marriage
is.
this is, whatever that looks like.
Absolutely. And I think
And
that what you just said, Sarah Beth, is so important because there are different stages within a relationship.
yes.
And from my perspective, that makes it all the more important to be able to focus on other intimacy besides sexual intimacy, because like you said, you have children, and then maybe they're older, they're in different activities, and you're schlepping them here and schlepping them there,
Yeah,
and then they're in high school, and now you're trying to figure out what's going to happen after high school, and then they're in college, and then all these things are going on, and it impacts the couple
yeah,
and their relationship. And very often when a couple gets busy in the busyness of life, the sex is the first thing to go.
mhm,
And that means now we
Yes.
got to focus on other types of intimacy rather than just the sexual intimacy. And
right.
that's why it's so important to keep that connection strong, keep that emotional connection strong. And I believe, and I'm not saying I'm right, but I believe that a couple who has a very strong emotional and spiritual connection can withstand a great deal easier those times when the sexual intimacy might be absent
Mhm.
because they're emotionally so well connected with each other. What do you guys think about that?
I want to say two things towards that, what you said. Neek touched on it a little bit earlier, where she said maybe acts of service. So it's
Mm,
important for the couples to know the 5 love languages. Know
correct.
what your
Yes.
couple's love language is, because you need
Mm,
to love on your couple the way they want to be loved, not the
right.
way you like. So if you're a person that loves to receive gifts, but that's not your spouse's love language, you're giving gifts because that's
Hmm.
what you like, but theirs is acts of service. So it's important to know each other's love language so you can communicate that way, because that can be so, so profound. And the second part of that, to the question that you were just saying, is when we keep um, sexual intimacy and sexual intercourse in the confines and the covenant of marriage and the way that God designed it, it
Mm,
is husbands, leave your family, right, and cleave to your wife. So
right.
the nucleus of the family is the husband and the wife. Then later on come the children. So if you always stay focused on God brought you together and how y'all got together and keeping that communication and that spice in the relationship, no matter how busy you get or how many children you have, your focal point is coming back to the beginning. So
Right.
the couples have to be independent, dependent on each other, and then interdependent, so that women are not losing themselves, men are not losing themselves, and no matter what is going on in life, they're coming back together. The bedroom is supposed to be the sanctuary. That's supposed to be
Hmm.
where you come together to let everything go, to let everything from the
Yeah.
world go, to be
Yeah.
built up, to be strengthened, to be vulnerable, to be able to express truly how you're feeling, whether it's at your job, whether it's in ministry, or whether it's within your relationship. So again, we come back to that communication, and even
Hmm.
knowing the love language of your partner. So if the actual intercourse cannot take place, you're still making love to them in a sense, in a way that they like and they understand, because you're meeting that need that they have, whether it's quality time, acts of service, gifts,
Yeah.
and what are the other
Touch.
ones? I missed one. Touch. Yes.
Physical touch. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's important to
Touch.
know so that you're speaking your spouse's language. So if the actual sex part is lacking, you're still feeling a powerful part in the relationship because other needs are being met.
Their needs are being met. Absolutely. And it's interesting what you mentioned about um, the couple's bedroom and the couple's bed. When I'm counseling a couple, I always refer to their bed as the marital bed. And there was one wife who actually said to me, "Well, what do you mean by that? I've never heard that term before." And to me, that's very important because sometimes
Mhm.
it becomes the family bed or the children have their little
Mm.
behinds up in there.
Hmm.
No, it's the marital bed. It ain't little Johnny's bed. It ain't little Susie bed. It's the marital bed. And I think if a couple can maintain that focus it can
Yeah.
help, because a lot of things, and it's not about just sex. There's so much that can happen in there. There's that pillow talk. There's the spooning.
Yep.
There's just being able to touch one another. They're sitting up there and watching TV together, or reading a book
Mhm.
together, or reading the Bible together, or praying together. There's all those things that can take place in the marital bed. It ain't just about sex, but I think
That's
the
right.
focus should be that it is the marital bed, and little Johnny and them need to be going to their room.
For
That's
sure.
that's just
And put them to bed early.
Early.
that early. So we've talked about spiritual intimacy, and I'm wondering about how spiritual intimacy may be impacted when there are different faith traditions between the husband and the wife. Could that have
Mm.
an impact on spiritual intimacy, and if so, how much? Hey, Nicole, good to see you, sis. So how do you all
Absolutely, that can have an impact. And I think that's why dating is so important, and dating with intention and asking questions and get to know this person really well
Mhm.
before you're spending the rest of your life with them, and you're discovering big huge things in the marriage that you really should have known before. So an interfaith marriage is very challenging, can be very, very difficult if you're not serving the same God or believing the same things. Or
Mhm.
some people, and I know my great aunt used to say that she thought that sex was only for procreation. And so to her, as a born again believer, just over religious, I would say she felt like it's only for procreation, not recreation.
Mhm.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
once they weren't doing that, she was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, no, God. And she just felt like she couldn't be holy, or she couldn't be seen or be loved by God in those things. But as the
Mhm.
word says, and as Sarah Beth touched on earlier, this is something that God created. This gives
Right.
him pleasure to know that two of his children are coming together in covenant and giving each other pleasure. So it is for procreation and recreation. So based on what this person is believing or experiencing in their faith walk, again, it comes
Mhm.
back to conversation. And so if there's
Mhm.
an imbalance, how can we come together? How can we bridge the gap? How can we balance this thing out? So you're getting what you need and I'm getting what I need.
That's good. Either of you have anything you want to add to that about a couple who have different faith traditions and how that might impact their spiritual intimacy?
No, I think she touched on it perfectly fine.
Okay, okay, that's good. So I want to talk about Dawn. You talk again about massages, and let's say there's some simple massage techniques that couples can do at home that would help them not just physically but also emotionally. So what are some specific things they can do?
This is some
Did I
things I
say Dawn?
teach,
I
so
meant
they're
Dawn. I'm
free. They're
sorry,
free.
Dawn.
They're free. Yeah, there's free things that I'm free that they could reach out to me. They can be free to reach out to me, and I can help and I can guide them. And I teach couples how to massage each other. So there are different
Mhm.
massage oils. I use ones that are mostly healing, so they can help if a person has arthritis and issues and things like that. But it's just soft, gentle
Yeah.
touch. And so I taught this, and it was so much fun at Couples Fest. I'm not sure if you saw that or not, but
Hmm.
teaching the couples on how to massage each other, and even just starting with like a neck and a shoulder massage. So one thing here that I can teach,
Mhm.
online, I would say if you're going to massage, don't use your fingers like this. If I'm massaging my arm, right? I want to use the palm of your hand, this part, and like that. Because what happens is you're pressing and you're trying to press hard to give pressure, and your hand gets tight. Like that's the most common thing that I hear. Women
Mhm.
say, "Oh, I asked him to massage me. Either it hurts, or he gets tired too quick." So it's all your body mechanics. So you're using your hand, kind of like that old movie. Was it Karate Kid? And it's like wax on, wax off. You use
Oh
the
yeah,
palm
yeah.
of your hand and go in circular motions and go gentle. And if the husband or the wife want more pressure, lean into it. Like, don't press your hand down hard, because yes, you're going to strain your muscles and you're going to get tired quickly. So let's say you have your hand on his back. Okay. And maybe he's a big dude and you're, small. Then you use your body mechanics and you put your hand down on his back and you like lunge. So you have, let's say, the left foot in front of the right foot, and you lean your
Mhm.
body weight in. So that way you're not using so much
Mm,
of the muscles in your arm, in your hand. You have your
mm,
hand in the right spot that you're not going to hurt, but you're using
yeah.
the weight of your body to give him more pressure if he needs more pressure, and vice versa for the women. So if they want more of a detailed class, they need to schedule an appointment with me. But that's one
Absolutely.
quick,
And
easy
we're gonna
that
have
I could share.
and we're gonna have to talk about all of that in just a few minutes. So I'm wondering what are some final words to encourage couples who may be struggling overall in the area of intimacy? What would you say to them to just encourage them?
I think what I would say is, let's start with having fun, right?
Mm,
Let's start with having fun with one
mhm,
another. If you can laugh together and enjoy
mhm,
each other's
mhm.
company, I think that's key. It's hard to be intimate with someone you just don't like. And to be honest, a lot of couples out there, a lot of
Yeah.
couples out there, they really just don't like each other anymore. You know,
Mm,
it's like I liked them back way back then, but now they're
Yep.
different. Of course, we're different. We've had
right.
children, we had mortgages, we've had a pandemic. Like there's so much
Mhm.
going on, and we change, we grow. Um, we become different people. Sometimes we don't, and if we're not close, we don't have that relational intimacy, then you don't recognize that person anymore. You didn't grow with them. You didn't recognize the growth as it was happening. Then all of a
Yep.
sudden you wake
Mm,
up and it's like, who am I married to? So
Yeah.
I think it's important to just learn to like each other. Go out and do things that are fun, learn to laugh together and be more relaxed. Everything doesn't have to be a heavy discussion. We don't always have to talk
right.
about the state of our marriage every single night, when we go out together or whenever we're alone. Sometimes we can compartmentalize things and say, you know what, tonight we're not going to talk about any of those issues. They're not going anywhere. We can deal with them tomorrow. Tonight, let's just go have fun. Let's go watch a movie. Let's go binge on something on Netflix. Let's
Mm,
just enjoy each other's company.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's very, very important for couples to enjoy each other. And sometimes I'll hear couples saying, "Well, we don't like any of the same things." I said, "That's great. What an opportunity!
Yes.
What an opportunity! You get to experience something that she likes. She gets to experience something that you like. To me, that is awesome because it's not about the thing; it's about the person.
Person, right?
So if you don't
Right.
like the same things, that's wonderful. You have you can bring each other into your world
Each
Right.
other's word. Yep.
to experience some of the things that bring you joy and bring you pleasure. So I think it's awesome that you don't both like the same things, because that to me it's all in how you look at it. Perspective is everything. If
Yes.
you think that's a negative, you're going to behave that way. If you think that's a positive
Correct.
thing, want to behave that way as well. So I think that's great, Sarah Beth, about couples having fun. I think sometimes couples have lost the art
Mm,
of just having a good
Mm-hmm.
time,
right.
enjoying each other. It ain't got to be all heavy, like you said.
Right.
Just enjoy each other. Just enjoy each other.
Mhm.
Um, what do you have to say, Miss Dominique? What do you have to encourage couples
So
who might be struggling in all areas of intimacy?
to piggyback off of Sarah Beth, just off of the things that I hear people say, I'll just use my own relationship or my own marriage as an example. We go out. I personally follow the 2-2-2 rule. Every two
Mm,
days, I might ask you, hey, babe, are you okay? Every 2 weeks, I say, hey, let's plan a date night. And again, we don't have kids, so I guess this works for us.
yeah,
And every 2 years, it's supposed to be 2 years, but of course, again, we don't have children, so we do this way more frequently than 2 years. But we take a week's vacation and go somewhere.
yeah.
Sometimes you just have to step away from the world and remind yourselves of how you got to this point of your relationship, your marriage.
Good.
And so for us, we cruise. We just went on a cruise in January. We leave again in March for our anniversary. And so we know that it's time to rejuvenate. No, we're not allowing anyone to go with us on our anniversary cruise. But again, in September when we go, hey, the more the merrier. You all are welcome. You have to set those boundaries and find that time for you and your spouse to make sure that you are pouring into your marriage and making sure that you know that this is the fun time. You got to create
Right.
that fun time because again,
Mhm.
life is very busy. You know, you work, you have your own businesses, you have your own ventures that you do separately, and then of course you got to find something that you like together or multiple things that you like together. So when it's time for you to go out and do something, you can say, "Hey, let's watch that movie together." Or there's times where you don't even have to leave the house to have an amazing time. Um,
Mhm.
because again, we don't leave the house often, and when we do, or when we don't leave the house, that's when we have the most fun. Being in the house, playing a card game, or watching TV, or having a drink and just relaxing and just doing whatever it is that you all like to do with each other in each other's company. So again, for me, I guess to tie it all into my business, um, it's all about that open communication. So when it comes to the world of arts of toys and bedroom accessories, the couples toys are amazing. Those toys that are app controlled or remote controlled, um, trying to find their spice. And it's all about communication. So, hey, I'm not comfortable with this, or hey, let's try that. Um, that'll
Mhm.
definitely bring that fun theme into your marriage or your
Yeah,
relationship. So definitely have a lot of products for you all to check out on my website,
absolutely.
especially couples related.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm gonna have you
the
talk
app
about those in
controlled
just a
toy that I
minute.
just received.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm gonna have you talk about that in just a minute, and what the ones that you can show
of course.
without being kicked off YouTube. Okay.
You won't get
Uh,
flagged, I promise.
so, Ms. Dawn, what do you have to add to that to help encourage couples who are struggling overall in all areas of intimacy?
uh, Date one another. Date one another. As Sarah Beth said, have fun. Focus on creating memories because sometimes even planning these events can get stressful, can bog down. Maybe just do something spontaneous where your
Mm,
focus is creating the memories. It doesn't matter as much what you're doing, just the fact that you're together and doing it together. And maybe take turns. Do something that you like more, do something that he likes more, or something like that and come together. So date one another with the focus of creating memories and communicate, and that way you can build up that friendship, because that's
mhm.
why when it gets to, I don't really like him or I don't really like her anymore, because you fell out of friendship, not necessarily that you
Mm,
fell out of love, you fell out of friendship.
yes,
So you
yes.
get bogged down with the cares of life and the mortgage and the kids and the football and all of the things that you don't have the fun anymore. So that's going to come and be fostered through communication as well as dating, and focus on creating memories with just a couple, the husband and wife, and then memories also with the children. So for me as a single person, my focus is creating memories with my children. And that looks so different because they're all adults now.
Mm,
And then
Mm,
I'm a grandma, so they have children. So
mhm.
focusing on having, creating memories with my grandchildren. And they have like everything. So me getting them something is not going to mean much. That goes in the plethora of stuff that they already have. So I give them
Yeah.
me. And you can do that
Mhm.
in a marriage too. Give your spouse yourself, your undivided attention, your undivided time. Put it on the calendar, whatever you have to do to let her know or to let him know you are important. You are the focal point of my time right now. Nothing is more important and nothing is going to interrupt this time that we have together because you mean that much to me. And that will
Mhm.
will encourage the friendship, and that will spice up the love and everything, and that will make your spouse look forward to the next time that we can get together because I had his undivided attention or he had your undivided attention. Because I mean, I remember times, feeling unimportant because my husband's on the phone all the time. And there has to be,
mm,
we have to set boundaries. So there has to be a time where you shut all those other things down and let her know she's the focus, and vice versa, and let him know that he's the focus. It's like, baby, I love you. Get their attention, and don't just tell them, show them, and show them
Sure.
you create memories, and they're going to look forward to that time to come together again. And that's the start
Yeah.
of it. And once you get a spark, you got a flame.
Absolutely. And I am all for creating memories because, you know, I always say, and it's just my perspective again, that people invest in what's important to them.
That
Because
part.
sometimes a person they'll buy this and they'll buy the $500 handbag and the $1,200
mm,
shoe and the $3,000 suit. but they won't spend a couple of $100 to go on a weekend getaway. You know, and to me that boggles my mind, because your marriage should be the most important thing in your life, and it needs
Hmm.
nurturing just like anything else. You
That's
have
right.
to nurture it, you've got to support it, you've got to feed it in order for it to grow. But people will spend money on every other thing. But you talk about spending 250 to go to a marriage conference, or a
Or get a
weekend to
massage.
or that
Yeah.
something. What? I'm gonna spend $500 on
Right.
that? Are you kidding me? But meanwhile, they just spent $1,200 on a pair of shoes. Don't
It's
make
Yes.
where the
sense.
value is.
Yeah.
It's
It's all about the
exactly,
rationale.
absolutely. So I think couples need to prioritize their relationship and show that they are prioritizing. Some people say, "Oh yeah, my marriage is my priority." But one thing my pastor said many years ago: you can tell what a person prioritizes by looking at their checkbook.
That's right. Where your
Look at their
treasure
checkbook
is,
Mm.
there will your
and
heart be
see
also.
where
That's
they're
scripture.
spending their money.
Hmm.
That is a clear indicator of what is important to that individual. So that's it, and that's all. That's my
You're
that's just
right.
my perspective on it. So I want to take some time and let each of you talk about what you offer mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And Miss Dominique, I'm going to start with you.
Oh well. So
Hmm.
for me, I provide that personal experience in the shopping room. Of course, I relate to you all. I talk to you about my personal experiences without getting too personal, of course, letting you know that I'm a product of my product. Yes, I do offer these products, and yes, I clearly have tried a lot of these, but the main thing is that I'm giving you the knowledge behind the product. In
Hmm.
my profession, I'm not just selling you the product. I can give you the knowledge behind it. I can give you the basis behind it. I can tell you why or why not even you should be using this product or should not be
Hmm.
using this product. Um, like for instance, I know like some of the products will possibly interact with medical issues. There's a particular product that it says if you have this particular STD or high blood pressure or this or that, you cannot use that product. And so I'm knowledgeable enough to ask that question. Hey, do you have this issue? Do you have that issue? But at the same time, I'm creating that trust with you so that you can physically tell me to say, hey, I can't use that because I have this going on, or we can't use that because we have that going on. Um, so with my service, yes, showing you and providing you a service, but I'm also providing you the knowledge behind that to make sure that the products that you're going to receive are going to be products that's beneficial to you in that space, whether it be your bedroom or a date night. Because some of these products you can actually take outside the bedroom and they're very discreet, and you have no idea that or the people around you have no idea that you're taking these products outside of your
Right.
bedroom. For instance, the brand new toy that just came out. And it is a toy, and it does not look like one. This is a app controlled.
Uh-oh,
This
we just
product
lost.
right here is just a magnet.
Okay.
Uh oh, can you see me?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So this here is the magnet, and I'm going to use this paper as a demonstrator. The paper would actually represent the female's underwear. The magnet is very strong, and it's holding the toy. So you must
Ah.
download the app to control this toy. Yes, you
Okay.
must download this app to control the toy. I actually had a friend of mine in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm here in Maryland, connect to my toy while I was here at home in Maryland, and they were able to use or to make the toy vibrate and it worked.
Wow.
So you can be anywhere in the world with this particular product. And of course, if you are someone who is single and you want to use this product on your own, you set it up on your phone and use it as well by yourself. Uh, this product alone, I believe it would
Mhm.
definitely enhance just the thrill of, oh my goodness, my partner has control of my orgasms, or my partner has control of when the next vibration will hit, and you have no idea because you're not the person in control. So you're giving your partner
Yeah.
that full control of that moment. That's just one of them. Now, of course, for you to actually have intercourse and you are with your spouse in that moment, there's called a C ring or a constrictive ring. Here's one
Mm.
that he would
Mm.
wear. So of course, every
Mm-hmm.
time,
Mm-hmm.
your partner thrusts into you, you will feel that particular vibration. And of course, they're also feeling the vibration because the ring itself is also vibrating in that moment. So of course,
Mm.
those are two of the products that we do have. And of course, we also carry like enhancement creams. Here's one. These are actually two. Up All Night actually is a prolonging cream for the gentleman to
Mm-hmm.
keep his erection longer. And of course, O is a tingling enhancement cream. Basically, it pulls the blood flow to those sexual organs, of course, to make it so that you and your spouse have that orgasm together. It bridges the gap. Of course, some women last longer than men, of course. So it's actually helping to bridge that gap so that you can experience that magical moment together. So
Yeah.
again, Pure Romance or Cupid's Love Corner is not just all about the sexual products. And of course, I have my own exclusive line, which you will see on my page if you go on the site. Once you click the Linktree link, you'll click Shop with Me, and you'll be able to see my website. Um, so there's multiple things in my line. It goes from lingerie to smell good products that have pheromones in them to, of course, the bedroom accessories and the toys. So if y'all have any questions, I'm always here. And again,
Yeah.
you're not just shopping the products, you're shopping the knowledge because some people would just sell you the product and they can't tell
Mm.
you anything about those products.
Yeah. That's good. That is so good. Thank you, Dominique. And here is, it's up on the screen. And also, I put it in the comments as well. If you're not able to copy this, you can click on it in the comments. That is Dominique's link tree. You click on that and you'll
Yes,
see everything listed there related to Cupid's Love Corner. So thank you for that, Dominique.
yes.
So Miss Dawn,
Thank you so much.
Tell us about you and what you do and what you offer.
I help to bring healing and wholeness to couples individually and collectively. So, whether that means spiritual, emotional, mental health healing, and prayer, and inner healing and deliverance through massage therapy, through aromatherapy. I'm certified with aromatherapy, and I actually am certified in emotional release with aromatherapy. And so that's something that can help you get past your trauma, get past frigidity, and things of that nature so that you can be in touch with yourself, so to speak, so that you can have the inner healing where you can be vulnerable with your spouse. And that's for men as well as women. And we can do that in the context of the massage because you're already in a vulnerable place. In a sense, and it's able to bring healing not just to emotions and mentally, but physical healing as well. So I do that with aromatherapy and massage therapy and helping couples get connected. When I say wholeness, is because if there's something that's lacking in the body physiologically, there's some type of diagnosis or problem or pain, that's going to affect your psyche. That's going to affect how you think. That's going to affect how you think about yourself. That maybe will inhibit how you perform or how you show up with your partner. So this whole thing that we're talking about, it's a wholeness approach to it, where the physiological has to be intact as well as the emotional and mental, so that when you do come together in the bedroom, you really have a spark and you can create a flame without
Mm.
inhibitions, without problems, without worrying about this is going to hurt, that's going to hurt, or whatever, and being able to come together and not have the inhibitions of maybe whatever happened in the past. So I help couples to heal and teaching you how to heal one another emotionally and physiologically, as well as whatever it is that you might be dealing with from like a medical perspective. So
Okay.
helping couples to get whole so that they can have a healthy marriage.
Absolutely. And this
Mhm,
is Dawn's website here. And I
mhm.
also put that in the chat as well. Okay. So, Lady Sarah Beth.
Okay. So I believe my calling is to help women and girls to find and to know their value and their worth in Christ, and also to understand how trauma impacts their everyday life, not just their relationships, but also their relationships with the Lord. I do group coaching. I speak at conferences, women's groups, and things of that nature. I'm all about healing, trauma recovery, whether that's individually or in couples or within families.
Okay. And you can find Sarah Beth at her self-awareness on Instagram. And the banner is there. And I'm going to put that in the chat as well. So there was a lot of information shared this evening, a whole lot of knowledge, a lot of encouragement, a lot of practical tips. And I just really hope and pray that even if one couple is helped by this, then I feel as if we would have done what we have set out to do, that we have fulfilled the various callings that we have on our lives here this evening. And so I want to thank each and every one of you who are watching now or later, because we know that time and distance is not a barrier for Almighty God. So whether you're watching it tonight, whether you're watching it next week, next month, or next year, there's something here for you and your partner in your relationship. And I want to give a special thanks to these three amazing, dynamic sisters who were here with me tonight. Miss Dominique Neal, Miss Dawne Horizons, and Miss Sarah Beth DiCostanzo. And I want all of you to utilize the links to contact them and utilize their services, their products, whatever it is they have to offer, because your life and relationship will be enhanced if you do. So I want to thank you again. And again, I'm going to say it because I always forget to say it at the end, to subscribe to Marriage Beyond the Breach. My husband tells me all the time, Val, you promote this and that. You always forget to put your own website up. And I do that because, it's really not about me. And that's probably why I forget, because it's really not about me. But anywho, Marriage Beyond the Breach, YouTube channel, Facebook page, Instagram. If you would subscribe, I would love it. I would really appreciate it. So come back again next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about, what's my subject next week? Healing from heartbreak. How to overcome betrayal, healing from heartbreak. So if you have experienced heartbreak, and I believe anybody over the age of 25 has experienced heartbreak at some point in their life. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to have a wonderful guest on who's been with us before, Dr. Ashlyn Jones. And Sarah Beth, you know Dr. Ashlyn because she was one of our professors at camp.
Yes.
So she's going to be on with us on next week talking about healing from heartbreak. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for being
here, Valerie. Thank you. And I commend you on all your hard work and everything that you do and all the work you put into bringing all this information to us consistently, faithfully. Thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
And your ministry. Bless your ministry.
God bless you. And one of these days, and y'all pray with me, I will be able to give some financial remuneration to my guests, because right now a sister ain't got it, because I'm not monetized on YouTube or anything like that. So I ain't got nothing coming in on that end. So I can't put nothing out. But y'all pray in agreement with me that one of these days I'll be able to do it. Okay?
Amen.
I'm in agreement.
I'll see you next time.
God bless you. Bye-bye.